What's happening, everybody? Thank you for joining. I am here. This is a special live. This is live, man. I tell you, and I have not been live in a long time, and hope that everybody's doing well. We are here. I'm in the DMV, and I'm going to introduce you all to someone who has just become a part of the Maximum Impact Travel family. And for those of you who are a part of the Maximum Impact Travel family, you'll have an opportunity to meet him, Mr. Deshaun J. Gandy, Director of Community and Cultural Experiences. And this is a brother. I'm excited to have him on the team because we met some years ago. We actually did a video here on Maximum Impact. You came from Jersey. I came up from DC. We met in Baltimore.
hmm
And what's the other brother's name that joined us?
Jonathan Travis.
All right, Jonathan. That's right. So Jonathan joined us, and he was there, and we all just kind of had a chance to chop it up and just discuss life and everything as brothers,
Right.
and so that I thought that was cool, and we were able to just discuss a lot of different things along the way. I guess that's the best way to say it. So anyway, man, Deshaun, welcome, man. The title says talk about two brothers talking about real talk about Africa and America,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we're obviously those who've been following the channel for a while. This is what we do. We talk about bridging the gap. We talk about really educating and informing our global audiences because there's a lot of misinformation out here, and so you're going to start seeing us go live more and more and more. Especially, we got a real solid team. Can't wait to introduce you all to Joe and to Jasmine and many others who are part of the Maximum Impact Travel Experience. We just don't do trips. I think that's the thing we have to understand. We do much more than trips, man. But anyway, Deshaun, glad to have you here this morning on Maximum Impact. We are East Coast time,
Yes, sir.
DMV.
East
You in Jersey. I'm in DC. So
yes.
so yeah, man. So anyway, tell me a little bit about your journey in Africa. You just recently went for the first time. We are both citizens of Sierra Leone,
Sierra Leone,
and
Sweet Salone. Yes, sir.
yeah. So and it's gonna get a little deep. We're not gonna be with you too long today, but it's gonna get deep. So tell me some about your experience and why you even wanted to go.
Well, ever since I was a child, I wanted to go to Africa. Just been amazed by the continent. And my father, as a historian, he always kept us grounded in the realities of Africa. But also, I never doubted where my ancestors came from. Like that was never a thing that was not ever talked about in our family. We knew our connection. So I always wanted to get back to Africa. And then after I got my DNA back and I saw that with specificity on my father's side, I was connected to the Limba tribe of Sierra Leone, and on my mother's side, the Belante people of Guinea-Bissau and the Bamileke people of Cameroon. So I knew now that when I do go to Africa, I can at least go back with specificity. If I wanted to, because my plan is to discover the whole continent, places that I'm not even connected to. And so, made that journey to Sierra Leone, and it was amazing. It was just life changing, life transformative, and I'm still processing it. I'm still processing it every day.
When you talk about that, there's some people who are learning, and we're all learning, and not even understanding the importance of being in Africa and experiencing Africa, and then understanding like one video I talked about the diversity in Africa, and so
Mhm.
someone who has a strictly American mind said, "Well, why do we need diversity in Africa?" Now, this person's only thinking from a racial or skin color perspective.
Right.
There's only one race, the human race. But from an ethnic perspective, from a skin color perspective, they're like, why do we need diversity? I was not. Diversity is a very complex word. It's not just
hmm
black and white.
Right.
So the diversity I was referring to was the cultural diversity,
Mhm.
and how when we talk about Africa, a lot of times we just say Africa and those Africans this and those Africans that, but then you can be within a small geographical region, and then it's like 50 different ethnic groups that don't even see the world the same way, who believe different
Absolutely.
things, who have a different perspective on life, and so that's very interesting. But for for when you went for the first time, what was your something that really surprised you, if you will?
I think, wow, one of the things that really surprised me is how much how I held to white supremacist views, and I didn't even know it. I mean, I consider myself pro-black, which does not mean anti-white. Uh, but I consider myself pro-black and just conscious, about my culture. And so the last thing I expected was to have moments of um, self-awareness, where I discovered things about myself that I didn't even know existed. That I held to white supremacist views and then imposed them upon my own people in Africa.
No, okay, walk that down. What does that mean? Because that's a little deep for some people. They're like, nah, you can't be thinking, you can't have no white supremacist views, man. What's wrong with you, man? You ought to know better. What you talking about? So break that down for some folks, because the
well,
mind is a terrible thing to waste. So let's not waste it.
true indeed. There was an experience there where we went to an event that a friend of mine had. She was a part of this event that she put on, and we went there as guests, and it was just we had a beautiful time, a wonderful time. It was just great to see. I think that event also was something that surprised me because I saw black people in Africa on this level of that I didn't expect to see them on. They were educated. They were business people. Some of them owned 4 or 5 businesses, and they were just dressed to the nines, and it was just their mind and everything. So that just showed me a whole different side of Africa. But then that night, as we were leaving, going back to the hotel, we passed a group of, this was in Freetown. We passed a group of black men, just who were on the corner, and they all had like motorcycles or bikes or whatever. And I immediately asked the taxi cab driver, I was like, "Where's the cops?" And he was like, "What do you mean, where's the cops?" I'm just like, "Man, you see all them brothers standing on the corner over there?" He was like, "Well, what are they doing?" Uh, he was like, "They're not committing a crime." And I was like, "Oh, wow, he's right. They're not." And I'm just like, "Well, why did?" And so I was like, "Wait a minute. I see a group of black men standing together, and my first thought is they're up to no good. Where's the cops?" And I'm just like, "Wow," and that's just, that just hit me, you know. Uh,
Hey, you said a lot just there, brother. I mean, because you said a lot. Because a lot of us hold those, and when you talked about holding white supremacist views, because that's where I think a lot of the conflict comes in for us, because there's such a disconnect. Because I tell you, I'll get into a debate with somebody every day, talk about how American they are. I'm American, I'm not African. I'm American, I'm not African. I'm like, what's American? Really, let's break down what American is. Please tell me what American is.
mhm.
And so most people will only hold their frame of reference is only through, it's really back to how, we were born in the 70s. So the 70s, or
Mhm.
whatever they told us in the history books,
Right.
or whatever came, 1800s, without understanding even, what has influenced us along the way. So we'll embrace a culture, and I know how it is, because I know how I was for so long. You have this conflict. Your external, your complexion says
Mhm.
one thing, but your internal says something else. So we
Mhm.
hold white supremacy standards as our standards, and even our identity. It's like we
Right.
aspire to want to be like that,
Yeah.
without even understanding how deep this thing goes. And so I guess that's a reality that you had when when you were there, because I'm gonna hit on this whole, how many of us as black people have white identities and don't even
Yes.
realize it. And that's where the conflict comes in,
That's where it
because
comes in.
because
So true.
because internally we we have been trained under white systems.
Mhm.
Our educators, the curriculums, even many of these HBCUs out here are named after white people. Now, a
Mhm.
lot of black people are shocked when they find that out.
Right.
They're walking around with names, white people's names are proud. It's like when you start getting into it and understanding the influence
Mm.
of white standards and white supremacy standards on us, and then you now go back and you say, wait a minute, this, because the conflict comes in, why aren't you treating me fairly? Why I'm in this country and my ancestors helped build this country. My ancestors did this, my ancestors did that. And so you feel some kind of way, like, man, these people are wrong. And
Right.
but yet subconsciously we still want to thrive in their school system. We
Absolutely.
still, many of us, and I don't want to generalize it, because some of us are definitely waking up and saying, "Nah, hold on, this is what has happened to us." But internally, there have been things that we've been told that, okay, Harvard is supposed to be the best, Princeton,
Right.
Yale are supposed to be the best. But when people, and those are white supremacy institutions,
Mhm.
Georgetown, white supremacy
Mhm.
institution,
Yes.
GW, I could go down the whole list,
Mhm.
because when you go there, you begin to discover how white supremacy oriented they are. But then what we do, and many of people in our culture, we say, okay, we aspire to do that. But then when we get there, we realize, because somebody will be quick to remind us of our skin complexion and that we
Absolutely.
aren't quite fitting in. So now the conflict comes in and something begins to happen. But no, don't go to Africa.
Mhm.
Don't be a part of that,
Right.
because
Right.
that's bad. But when you begin to look at the DNA, it's like that's a major part of who we are. And even though, and this is something else, I'm very conscious of who is teaching me and who's giving me information,
For
because
sure.
there's even this thing throughout history where if a white person tells us, gives us the information, we value it a little bit
Oh
more. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
white people said it, it's okay. Black person
Absolutely.
come along, now I got to check that brother out. I got to make sure he all right, because I don't know.
Yeah.
I got to check him, what he up to, why he, and it's just it's
It's
ingrained.
ingrained in us. Yeah, decades and decades and decades of this institution of slavery, Jim Crow. Uh, you know, all of these years have put us in a position where, and generally speaking, but we need white people to validate us. I
Mm.
had a shocking revelation myself when I was in Africa, in Sierra Leone. I'm sitting in the hotel, and I'm 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 wanting to see a white person. I'm like, well, where's the white people? And I had to ask myself, why am I sitting in Africa, in Sierra Leone, and why am I asking? Why do I feel the need to see white people? And I needed an answer because that was something that I needed Deshaun to explain to Deshaun, like what's going on here, and I wouldn't let up on myself. I pressed myself for an answer, and the answer I was trying to avoid, I finally came head on to, was that we need white people to validate us. We have the institutions have so constructed this paradigm that we exist in, that if we don't have their validation, then we don't feel we're successful. Like, we can have a business, but when white people support our business, we've made it. If
Ooh.
that's that mentality. It's like, we, we need their validation. I'm just like, wow. And and like I said, like all of these things just started, I started becoming aware of myself when I was in Africa, and just discovering things about myself that, for better or for worse, that I felt I needed to check.
Mm. But a lot of people don't want to check it though, man. A lot of people don't want to check it. And it's not for everybody to check. Some people
Right.
are ignorance. They say the term ignorance is bliss, and
Mm.
there are a lot of very happy ignorant people. I know I was very content being ignorant in believing that America was the best. And even somebody even commented on something. I don't like when y'all talk. This black person. I don't like when y'all talk about America. I don't like when y'all talk about America. And I was like, we're not talking about the culture and the people of America. We talking about the system, the
Mhm.
corporation of America,
Mhm.
the very thing.
Mhm.
And that same person to be the one, oh no, they're unfair to me, and they don't want to give me a raise on the job. And Donald Trump and Donald Trump and Donald Trump and Donald Trump and what that's America.
Mhm.
So so it's like when I hear it, man, it's like, again, I hear the conflicts within us, and I understand them. I was out to dinner a few days ago, and there was these two young black folks sitting next to me, a guy and a girl, and they were talking about how they were talking about traveling.
Mhm.
And I'm minding my business. I'm just sitting there eating my salad and drinking my water, minding my business. And they said, well, yeah, I think I'm going to go to Italy, and oh yeah, Europe would be great, and la 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 la, and and they went on and on about
Mhm.
Europe, and I'm like,
Mhm.
well, when they gonna say something about Africa? Well, when they go, but I already know. I mean, I know the journey I went on, so
Yes.
I didn't
Yes.
impose myself and butt in that conversation, but it just kind of revealed the way that we've been conditioned. We cry racism, but then we run to the very countries and institutions that
Mm.
caused it. So we
Yes.
run
Yes.
with our Anyway, I'm gonna behave myself. I got to set a good example. You know, but we run to London and Paris and
Right,
Amsterdam and
right.
Lisbon and Madrid and Frankfurt and Rome and Athens and I mean I could go on and on and on. But different places in Brussels will run there without understanding what these places really represent.
Absolutely.
Even
And
when
you
it
know,
go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, and I was gonna say, I think there's a conversation that needs to be had just about the experience that Black people have in Europe. Like when I went to Europe, the way I saw, I mean, it was overt. The way I saw the racism that was imposed on the Africans there traveling back to Africa. Just the way they were treated, it was like it was harsh. It was harsh. And then one of the people who was actually leading this harsh treatment towards them was a Black woman from Africa.
Well,
And I was like, and you know, the only thing I can think of is like, well, I guess she has to survive if she lives here, you know, in this European country, and this is her job. This is how she has to survive. But then I guess they couldn't tell us apart, so they saw African Americans, and in their mind, they're like, well, they must be Africans as well, and they started imposing that treatment on us. And I was just like, whoa, check yourself, you know.
oh,
But
you had to bring us
I
some of
think,
that hood, huh?
yeah,
Check that. Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
yeah, but I definitely think there's a conversation about, you know, racism in Europe as well. I mean, it's you know, we only tend to think America, but you know, it started in Europe. They came over here to America, and so you know, when you get back to the original source, that's where it is.
But a lot of people are in denial. But you know when you talk about the whole white supremacy, I even see the white supremacy views, and people don't realize it because they've been raised under something. But I see it even on the continent of Africa when you see with the skin bleaching, and you see how when like there's a country in East Africa I will not name right now, but it seems like they have a particular affection for worshiping Europeans. It's like I look and I say to myself, I say it's to the point where I don't even want to go to this country half the time because it's nauseating when you get out there and you see this embracing of it. But something
Hmm.
interesting, I'll come back over to the West. Something that I have been told by quite a few people is that in certain parts of West Africa, they judge you based upon how well you speak your colonizer language. So if you speak
Mm.
English really well, then they're going to give you versus the local languages versus the
Wow.
local languages. So you might be very fluent in your local language, but if you're not particularly fluent in English, they consider you to be uneducated, or fluent in
Wow.
French, they consider you to be uneducated. So again, this goes back to this white supremacy standard that so many people, unbeknownst to them, have by
Hmm.
saying, okay, your local stuff is no good, but come on, embrace this stuff that these little queens and from England and the kings and all of that from England come in
Right.
and now impose. And I'm telling you, I have seen where I've heard people say, well, it was better when this was under British rule,
Mm.
because we had more things. And you got to understand what imperialism does and colonialism will do is that's the whole design, to build it up for
Right.
themselves and to
Right.
steal and to build it up for themselves. And so when they're ready to leave, they'll decimate it. They'll leave it and trash it.
Absolutely.
Eh,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when we labor under the idea that it was better when we were under colonization, then you have to realize that when colonization, quote unquote, left and gave you your country, they took all the resources with them. You
yeah.
know, they took all the rights to the resources of your country. So they left you bereft of your own resources in your own country. You know, so all that has to be factored in if we're going to labor under the idea, that our country was better or life was better under colonization.
It's a lot of people who feel that way. I mean, because in traveling to these different countries, you begin to see the impact of it. And again, our whole talk was started off with us talking about how even many of us have held as quote unquote black people, African descendant people, African diaspora people, black American, however you want to
Mhm.
classify yourself, hold on to white supremacy views and hold on to white standards, as and really hold on to a white identity, but we have a brown or darker complexion exterior, so that creates the
Mm,
conflict. And a lot of
mm,
people have this conflict. It's like I'll see people, yeah, we black this and we black that, but the first thing they want to do is put on a white brand. First thing they want to do is get in a white branded car.
mhm.
And so so when you see the music videos, there are all of these different white brands that they're promoting,
Right.
but yet they're black, so it's like
Hmm.
I gotta show my blackness, but yet I'm wearing the white man's brand on my back, and
Hmm.
so you think
Hmm.
about these brandings, and
Right.
it's complex,
Yes, it
and
is.
it's not to say that you shouldn't wear a Gucci watch or whatever, Gucci belt, or wear a Louis Vuitton, or carry a Louis Vuitton bag or whatever. And not saying that, it's just saying that for many of us, we don't even understand that we have the ability to be Louis Vuitton. What makes Louis Vuitton Louis Vuitton? What
There you
makes
go.
Fendi Fendi? What makes Coach Coach? What makes Michael Kors Michael Kors? What
Hmm.
makes these different brands what they are? Somebody said it 9 times out of 10. Somebody white said it and told somebody black to go tell your people that this is what's right, and then all the black people follow. That's what's right. That's what's right. That's what we
Right.
need to be doing. That's what we should
Absolutely.
be doing. And then we start wearing it. I remember when the Fila sweatsuits were out back in the late
Mm.
'80s, and the EK glasses, and all of these things, and the white on white shell top Adidas, and all these things that we were wearing. And how many
Superstars.
of us were really profiting from this? Yeah, the stuff was fly. Yeah, of course it was.
Hmm.
But when the brother comes out and creates his own brand, now we're looking at it sideways. Yeah, but I
Right.
don't know if I'm trying to wear them Deshans. I don't know if I'm trying to wear them Deshans. You know what
Absolutely.
I'm saying?
Absolutely. Ah, so true. So true. Yeah. But that is I think that is where the conflict comes in, is that our skin is black, and we know that, you know, we know we're black, but the way we've been brought up, the way we've been conditioned, the way we've been taught to think and to see things and to understand things, our worldview is European, and westernized European at best. And so that's a conflict within us that we have to just come to terms with. How you deal with it, that's a whole nother discussion, and it may be different for different people at different times. But I think we definitely need to come to terms with, that exists, that conflict within us exists, that tension within us exists.
Yeah, yeah. You're so right. And another tension that you talked about, which I thought was really important, is, and I've seen this happen in Africa, and I've seen it happen with us in America, how we treat each other. What some of the
Yes.
things, the ways that we'll talk to each other, the ways that we'll, you get the at HNIC situation. You finally get
Hmm.
a Negro get in a position, and then they want to start wielding all of this power over everyone else that they feel as though was underneath them, and so they act brand new. Or
Right.
you get the person who's, you got the other side of it, where you do get the person, the black person who gets a high position, and now all the Negroes want to start getting lazy and getting slack. Oh yeah, we got somebody in there, so now we ain't got to do no work. We come in
Right.
when we feel like it. You don't switch up on us now.
Mm.
Don't get brand new on us. Don't you do that now. And now the pressure from the person who's in position, who's been working all those years, now they have the pressure because of course they got their higher ups they have to answer to, but now they
Hmm.
have to deal with working, with the Negroes that don't want to do what they're supposed to do. Interesting part in
Right.
Africa, in Ghana in particular, they were telling me how, and I heard it about it in Tanzania too, where is like a lot of people don't want to work for people who come from where they come from. So what they do is they bring the Indians in. And they bring the Indians in. So, like, say, for example, you have a Ghanaian, they may own a particular entity, but
Hmm.
they'll bring in an Indian manager to basically have because the people will respect the Indian manager before they'll
Mm.
respect the Ghanaian who owns the place,
Mm.
and put the blood, sweat, and tears
Mm.
in the building. Now, of course, we're not generalizing. We're giving you specific
Hmm.
cases and instances where this stuff happens. But I mean, when you talked about it, when you were in Europe and the lady was talking to you all, the way she felt that she could go. I've had to step to a whole lot of people. Dude, when I was just in Ghana last week, I was shooting a video, doing a reel, and dude, in the middle of the video while we're recording, I'm at Black Star Square. Dude rolls up talking to my camera guy while I'm recording, like, "What y'all doing? What y'all doing?" And sorry y'all. Let me just. I went off on that joker. I went slam off. I mean, I went slam. I mean, I was like, well, I said, first of all, who are you? I said, I ain't got to ask. I don't have to answer to you for anything. I said, if I'm doing something wrong, then call the cops. And he was like, whoa. I said, I'm sitting here recording something, minding my business, and you coming up and getting in my business. And
Mm.
he was like, oh. Now I've had a few conversations like that continent
Uh-huh.
wide because they see the skin color. Because I said, you would never roll up on a white person like this. I said, you wouldn't say a word to him. And he was like,
Absolutely.
"Oh, no, 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 no." I said, you wouldn't. I said, we're minding our business. And so he was like, man. So, and of course they want to kill them angry black people, them angry black Americans. They're angry. Now we just don't tolerate that foolishness, that BS that people come peddling. And it's like, hey man, if I was white, you wouldn't bother. You'd be like, yeah, massa, do what I say,
I
massa.
bet you he
Whatever you
learned
want me
something.
to do,
Yep.
give me money, please. It would be that type of situation.
Hmm.
But a brother coming here trying to help bring people to the continent, and you want to
Right.
come with that foolishness. So
Yeah.
anyway, that was
Yeah, it runs deep, man.
it runs deep.
It definitely runs deep, and even for those specific situations where you talked about people wanting to work under Indian authority or leadership, it just shows us that it's hard for us to feel like we can validate ourselves. We have to look outside of ourselves for validation. That's just a horrible thing. That's a horrible thing.
Well, Deshaun, we're gonna have to cut this off right now. I got a meeting to go to. This is our
Me
meeting
too.
job. I said we won't go live, man. That's what you want to do. Deshaun is working with us here at Maximum Impact. He is the community and cultural experiences director, and you're going to be seeing him if you're a part of our travel experiences. And just know we are here to bridge the gap between Africa and the African diaspora, and we'll definitely be having more conversations. We are actually running live right now. That's why I said it's 10 a.m. Christine, I'm on the way. Christine, I got a Zoom coming up. So I know she's sitting there like, is he coming to the Zoom or whatever? But that's how we do it, and it's spontaneous, and it's a great conversation. I look forward, man, to having many more conversations like this. Hey, listen,
Likewise.
everybody, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. We're not just a travel company. We have so many things on the way. Travel is just one aspect of the Maximum Impact Enterprises experience. We have the Adventures of Darren and Destiny children's book series. We also have our Impact Academy that's going to be coming. It's going to be educating people worldwide, and we're going to be having these types of conversations because more and more people are feeling certain things but not knowing what to do. We're also going to be encouraging people to travel as a form of therapy, meaning, you've been working all these years and you've been doing all this stuff, and now it's time to do some travel. Now it's time to live. We're going to be introducing our Reboot Your Life retreat coming in 2025. We're going to be doing our Maximum Impact Youth Travel Initiative that's going to be coming in 2024. So many things on the way, so many more conversations coming. Going to be introducing you to other people who are joining the Maximum Impact team. This is not just travel, all right? These are travel experiences, and we want to invite you to be a part. If you want to see where we're going, join us at MaximumImpactTravel.com. All right, Deshaun. Hey, we might be able to do this again tomorrow. We'll see. I got to see if I get it. If he puts me in trouble. Let's see if. So you said too much, Jay. Said too much. All right, y'all.
All right, Jay.
All right. Have a good day.